Oh, good afternoon. I'm Lily Beth Andre, author of The Songs of My Grandfather. We're here today to introduce Alex Andre, and in The Songs of My Grandfather, which is a compilation of songs that my grandfather wrote, I present an introduction written by my mother, who is the daughter of my grandfather. And I close with a song written by Alex. It was one of his first songs, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, first song.
First song. And I added it because I want an introduction from what my grandfather left behind and his legacy. And this song, I believe, was a very appropriate way to recognize him for the legacy that he left behind in the inheritance of what his great-great-grandfather, right, influenced. So if it's okay with you guys, I'm going to go ahead and play the song so that you can enjoy it, and then we're going to go ahead and discuss it. First of all, I want to say that I had the opportunity of going over some files, and I noticed that including some of the papers that you had from growing up in school, several times you refer to yourself as a poet. This was in grade school.
I didn't know it.
In grade school, you were referring to yourself as a poet. So I found it quite interesting that you grew up into a poet and musician. So with less chat here, I'm going to go ahead and play the song so folks can listen to it and see what they think, and then we're going to go ahead and discuss it.
Okay.
So here we go.
Still playing on the preview and not the content.
I wish I could be more like James Dean, be the star of the team and the homecoming king, and I start a band, play guitar and sing, and I'd wreck all the mic and I'd shred all the strings, and I wouldn't care if the other people stare. I'd just slouch in my chair with my long wavy hair, and I wear a white tee and really tight jeans, and I roll my cigarettes inside of my sleeves, and I drive a fast car, be a football star with a varsity jacket, not care who you are, get in fights like every single night, and I would do what I like and not care if it's right and if it's wrong. Oh well, I'm moving on, still party up with girls all night long, and I go to every party but show up late. People might call me Alexander the Great, man. Life would be grand, not so bland. If I was a man that was in demand, maybe then I could take Jen and break up with her and go out with her friends. I bang Sandy, Ashley, Brandy, and Mandy, and brag to all the guys about that night with Andy, and say the right thing, hang with the tight jeans and my records on the shoes, shirts and jeans. What would you do to me? Consider cool, hang with the tightest screw, be a baddest with a tattoo or two, jam screw in your very own car, be a big star, and every day go hard. Be voted most handsome, act dumb, have fun and be more American than bubble gum. Every spring break party on the beach, and not be a geek. What would you do to me? Consider cool, hang with the tightest screw, and be a baddest with a tattoo or two, jam screw in your very own car, be a big star, and every day go hard. Be voted most handsome, act dumb, have fun and be more American than bubble gum. Every spring break party on the beach, and not be a geek. I wish I could be more like James Dean, be the star of the team and the homecoming king, and I start a band, play guitar and sing, and I'd wreck on the mic and I shred all the strings, and I wouldn't care if them other people stare. I just slouch in my chair with my long wavy hair, and I wear a white tee and really tight jeans, and I roll my cigarettes inside of my sleeve, and I drive a fast car, be a football star, wear a varsity jacket, not care who you are, get in fights like every single night, and I would do what I like and not care if it's right and if it's wrong. Oh well, move along, still party up with girls all night long, and I go to every party but show up late. People might call me Alexander the Great. I throw a party every weekend and spend all my time with a bunch of friends. Start a new trend, have money to spend in the end. Stack a big dividend. At lunch I'ma sit at the biggest table like a man more respecting an electrical cable. Be perfect, keep the girls in check, stack the deck and ace every single fucking project. The only class I fail would be guitar, cause the teacher all mad that I go too hard, and every Friday night scoring at the game on the field. patient and never content. If my money ain't spent, pretend like I got a hood to fucking represent. If I was like that, I swear I wouldn't care that my father wasn't there, that my mother doesn't care. But my life can always be repaired when it's compared to the guys over there. And they got no money and ain't got no car, and nobody really gives a damn who they are. So compared to them, I really am a star, and my life really ain't that damn hard. Maybe being myself ain't had that bad, cause if you look at who I am the champ, I am the man who is in demand, I am a king, I am James Dean.
Bravo. Great. Well, to give people a perspective here, when did you write this song?
When I was finishing my last semester of high school. So roughly, probably 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm. And I know you'd been writing before that, and this was, remember this was the first one that I heard from you.
Yeah, I think this was not like the first song, things that I recorded or whatever, but like the first one where I knew what I was doing enough to like have the vocals not sound like I was recording it with a potato, and like playing on a stereo in the background or something, kind of like what we just did here. But yeah, and so I'd written like things, probably like just verses or little freestyles, and yeah, and then this is the first one that I've written that's a complete like song with you know, a semblance of a structure, not like your standard, you know, hook, verse, bridge, verse, hook thing, but yeah, it's different that way.
Well, I know. Well, to let everybody know, the lyrics are in the book, and you can take the time to review them in the epilogue, closing part of the book. As I said, a nice legacy of what I felt my grandfather had left behind. In his song, nothing compares to the songs that he wrote, of course, but I believe and I understand how each one of you has taken your life experience and put it into poetic words that you both added music to. So I find that quite interesting. Now, how often do you remember seeing Grandpa?
Probably the equivalent of like summers and Christmas.
Holidays. So it's not like we were living with him or he was living with us.
No.
Not that regular basis. But what I find interesting is the influence that he was giving you by the work that he was doing in an indirect way, because you had that legacy genetically imprinted in you already. And of course have to add that there may be some influence from my own dad, right? That he was also a poet. But I think the interesting part is the encapsulation of time. If we read the lyrics of your song, they're very telling of the life you were living and who you are, the time you were living, and what this song tells people. And to me, it's autobiographical in a way. It's a time capsule.
Loosely in a way.
No, of course,
I mean, like,
of course.
It's really hard to get like a perfectly autobiographical and literal and still
Right.
at the same time keep a rhyme scheme.
No, but I mean,
Especially like a very, you know, regimented one.
Sure,
with, like,
sure.
every stanza is rhyming with the last one.
Oh, and I understand that, but then the value of, yes, it depicts someone in high school, right?
Yeah.
It would have been very difficult for anyone else to come back and feel that, and the things that you're touching on are very, very specific to people living under those conditions, those circumstances. So I think they're very expressive in that sense.
Yeah.
So how did you get interested in writing music, and why not just, you know, songs or poetry?
Well, I remember, must have been like 5 years old or either pre-K or kindergarten. We were taking piano lessons, and like some of the first things I remember was just taking the piano, and like one hand would be like just making little random notes, but in my head it sounded like people talking, almost like Peter and the Wolf sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that might have actually influenced it. I don't know. But like Peter and the Wolf clearly sounds like, you know, characters talking or something like that, to me at least.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, the right hand would play something, ding, 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 and then the right hand, or the left hand, reverse, whatever, would like answer it with sort of a different character because it's a different tone or timbre or whatever. Certainly a different pitch. It just sounded like a different person, maybe like a chicken and then like you know, a big old bloodhound dog or something talking to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I always just felt like music was supposed to be sort of storytelling like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, music just seemed cooler, and yeah, it just maybe it's just generational, but like it needed to be more more action, more engagement, just more. And then like I kind of feel like generation after me is like even more so because they've got to do video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's not enough for them to make songs. If you're making songs, you've also got to do your music videos to go with it. And you know, I spent so much time learning how to do music production completely, thoroughly, and like totally.
Mm-hmm.
So like I almost feel like, oh, it's not fair. I don't want to go back to zero again.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like recently listening to some people talk about like how important that is, and like how successful people are generally the ones who can like go back to the drawing board repeatedly and reinvent themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But like video editing is not as engaging and entertaining and creative as music production whatsoever, in my opinion.
Well, what drives your inspiration? How do you get your ideas? How do they come about? Do you know, are you influenced by anyone in particular, or is it just your inspiration?
Well, yeah, like influencing is people is probably. I mean, influenced by people is going to be somewhat like unconscious, maybe. Just like, you know, it's. So I talk out loud, and I talk out loud a lot, and I just kind of am a little bit crazy with just weird noises all the time, making funny voices, and not really knowing what it is. Just randomly like thinking as I'm like watching TV or as I'm like narrating what I'm doing, pretending like my dog actually can hear me and understand me, or if there's like any people around, you know, trying my best to annoy them with just different like characters and outrageously obnoxious noises and things like that.
Entertain them.
Yeah, like I feel like maybe I'm entertaining them, but it's really only going to entertain them if they're kids, I guess, because it's that like, you know, silly.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times I'll get just good ideas from that. Just you stumble upon something and like just keep going. And I'm not always like that, of course.
Yeah, but you allow yourself the freedom to be expressive.
Yeah,
that way.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care about like embarrassing myself. For the most part, with just silly, stupid stuff. So like some people find it really annoying, and then other people are kind of find it endearing, I guess. I know some people find it endearing because some people like me, and everyone else just kind of like tolerates me.
Now, when you wrote your music in the very beginning, what defined what genre you were going to be focusing on?
Well, when I first started like trying to do hip hop rap, you know, combining vocals with music, I was in the last semester of high school, and I'd left my first high school and was re-enrolled after like dropping out and going to another one, and like that one I was riding the public transportation system to get to school in the morning, so I would ride the bus and then get on the rail, and then I'd get off and then I'd walk through like Third Ward basically, or like I get off of that same place like now pretty regularly for different things, and like it right where I would walk through to get to school, there was like just a bunch of people that would hang out. So there was a bunch of homeless people there. That, like, it was a camp that got like taken down recently, and also like so that was just like it was the lawless zone, and so people would hang out there before school and just like smoke weed, smoke their cigarettes. Probably some people would drink or something like that. And I would just walk through there, and of course I would like know a bunch of people because the school was almost exclusively for people who dropped out and went back to school. And I just started. I'd always been into like hip hop music since high school, and so I was like the only quote unquote white person there. And like people, one of the things people do is just like freestyling and whatever. And so I'd want to like fit in with. And I quickly realized I was much better at writing things than I was at coming it off of the top of my head. And then so I wanted to start doing that because I realized I was pretty good. And then I realized I was just gonna have to. I wasn't gonna be able to afford paying other people for their instrumentals to use and record that, so I'd have to make my own. And so that's why I started doing like music production itself. And then I realized, okay, like I'm a lot better fit for this. Like it's hard to like market an image of me doing like hip hop and whatever. At least I thought. Like now things are a little bit different. There's like all sorts of goofy, nerdy people, and like they've got their genre or whatever. But like at the time, that was not an option.
Now I know you did production for several people.
Yeah.
And that was something you enjoyed, or how did you transition that? Were you just experimenting?
Yeah. No, it's something I enjoy. I really like producing, coaching people, like taking their, their ideas, and then kind of like most of the time they weren't very like polished or whatever. Like these people who were good at writing like their songs and stuff, they didn't really know how the production sort of worked, or what sort of ideas are going to be like most marketable. And like everybody that does music doesn't want to be commercial. Like they all want to be. Very few people start off like wanting to be like widely commercial. They think that they're like, authenticity is going to be like well liked by everybody. But the fact is like that's not true. It's hard for people to relate to people who are very niched. And so I would try and like broaden their appeal like as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And like there'd be parts where like they didn't quite get how the rhyme scheme was going to match up with the beat, and it wasn't going to flow as good. And like they'd go from like a rhyme scheme that was consistent, and then all of a sudden would switch up, and it would just like really mess with the flow. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. But just overall, like being the executive producer. I mean, ultimately, like they were the executive producers, but like they would. I mean, the reason they went to me is because they heard the stuff that I made and was like, "Wow, that sounds like stuff on the radio. Can you help me do something like that?" And so I would take like their material and try my best to make it as widely, give it as much mass appeal as possible. So that's what I kind of like doing the most.
Mm-hmm. Sounds exciting. Now, for the most part, you're self trained. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've like have a pretty obsessive compulsive personality, and if I like doing something, I'm going to like just completely ignore everything else and just spend a lot of time on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so so I would learn through trial and error for a lot of stuff, and then also at the same time, going online, watching like guys whose entire channel was like tutorials, and then taking those little tutorials and going from there, like using the sort of the lesson,
Mm-hmm.
and then just making like 20 different version things of the lesson, trying to see whatever, and a lot of stuff sounded terrible, and a lot of stuff was like really cool, and learned a lot of good production tricks. Fortunately, when it comes to like the technical things, there's creative stuff in there because you have to like listen, and each individual track is going to be require different things. But there's like there's basic things you learn when you're trying to compress like a kick drum or something. You have a low attack so that it doesn't turn on the compression before the kick hits and then muffle it. So you got to wait until it kicks and then turn it down or whatever, so it can quickly duck back into the mix of everything else. These are like general facts that you learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else is just like the creative aspects are just trial and error, and maybe you'll play 5 notes that you'll have to have like 8 notes in your you know, your I don't know what that would be called. Like my bar. Yeah, a bar. Oh, it's called a bar. Okay, the bar, and like it's literally a bar on the screen, literally, and linearly, and like I'll come with 6 that fit really well, and then like the last 2, it's like I don't know how to close this, so I'll just record those 6, and then like just no, no, and just constantly moving, replaying, looking like a madman, just like hitting play, repeat, no, play. You know, it would drive someone else crazy, but since it's mine and I'm not done with it, I'm the only one who can tolerate that, or tolerate that process.
I know you play the guitar,
Mm-hmm.
and you like to fool around with other instruments. Would you say that you're more of a techno musician, or tell me what you do with your instruments? What's your preference?
Well, these days I'm not really doing too much production with other people. It's kind of my own stuff, and I'm just really practicing the guitar and getting much more
Fluent?
Fluent, yeah. Because I like to do finger picking and getting very technical, hammer-ons and pull-offs and classical style music. So things that I could play by myself at a bar or a club or something like that. Trying to get on that so I can try and do more live performances. So what was your question?
What your favorite instruments, basically?
Oh, yeah, so the guitar right now. And then, so I play the piano. I don't really practice it as much as I used to. I certainly can't play classical music. I can play classical guitar. I can't play classical piano. Piano is just purely improvisational, kind of solos and little minor chords that I can work in. And of course the acoustic bass, electric bass guitar, because it's pretty much the same thing. And you just play it differently. And then I can play the acoustic drums a little bit. I can. The good thing about recording is you can just record things and then bring it in. So like I have a lot of trouble mixing in the kick drum with like the hands. If I could just play the hands, I could keep a beat, you know, with the cymbals and the snares and toms just fine. But having to work in the kick too and keep that in with the mix is difficult. So I can just record that and then put in the kick later, which usually would be electronic anyway.
So
acoustic kicks are weak.
what comes first for you, the music or the lyrics?
Very, very few songs start with the lyrics first. Most of the songs would start with like music first, because I like to have lyrics that like follow the beat very, very easily, and that's usually done with like the instrumental first, and then taking some sort of idea and then writing to that, because you need to know what the structure of the song is before you start writing, like, you know, because you know, you don't want to have a verse that's like 12 stanzas long and your beat is actually only going to like 8. That's just, because what would you do? You'd cut it off and then put it on the next verse, and like maybe that would work, but maybe it wouldn't. It's much easier just to start writing, especially for hooks, right with the song that you've already got produced.
I know you have a huge inventory of songs.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of doing what we did with your grandfathers? Putting it together in a book of poems?
Well, I think, unfortunately, the reality is I used to have a huge inventory of songs. They were on a hard drive, and the hard drive doesn't really boot up anymore. It might be salvageable. And then there's another one that I just don't know where it is. I think it might have gotten lifted or something.
Okay.
But like I still have all of my music productions, just not like the written. I would write songs and type them up like with Microsoft Word and listen to other people's instrumentals and like ones that I'd made and stuff like that too. So I probably had like over 100 songs that were written. But yeah.
Okay.
But I still have all of my, music compositions. I just don't have the raw production files, and so that's like kind of a killer. But for my own like personal library, and like, you know, it's like if you mementos almost, you know, digital mementos. So I should probably burn those onto like audio cassettes, like the old tapes, so I can have like analog versions that won't get destroyed. Those things will sit there forever. Even CDs get scratched and whatever, but the analog tapes, cassettes have like a much better sound than CDs.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Well, what is it that you've been working on recently? Do you have some ideas or something to share with us?
Well, mainly what I've been focusing on is like the classical guitar, like purely instrumental playing. But I've written a few little things like here and there. I brought one of them. It would have been a hip hop song, and just like it came to me one day as like, and I don't really do that much anymore, hip hop or whatever. But yeah. So it kind of. So Elon Musk is a popular proponent of something called like the simulation theory, and it's basically, and I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, if that's how you pronounce his name, I don't know. He also talks about it as well, but just like, so there's this sort of school of thought that thinks reality is like a computer program almost, basically exactly like the Matrix, and it's kind of best explained by like, we can't prove that's not reality. We can't prove that is reality, but we can't prove it's not. And then so that's just like really exciting for like geeky people that want to talk about like science fiction stuff or whatever. And so like if it's a simulated reality, that means there's like an overlying computer program code, and that's like the holy grail of science, like actual physics. The holy grail is you know, what is the unified theory of the universe? Because I think quantum mechanics theory is works well on the quantum level, and then like Einstein's theories of relativity work on like the large scale, but like the E equals mc squared doesn't seem to like mesh out with like quantum very small scale particles, so they're trying to find the theory that goes behind that. And so essentially I guess that's like the code, but the way I was using it in this song was just like kind of the Matrix. There's like a computer programming code behind everything. Yep, playing again.
Trying again. There we go.
Get the click on that so you don't accidentally trigger it again.
Right. Okay, thank you.
And so, but like, it reads. This is a very like rough draft of it all, but so I just kind of started with the hook. So it's either you live it or you die in it, but you live right here in the code. You either do or you die. We are living it though. When I say it slow like this, it just kind of sounds so funny.
You can go ahead.
So you either live it or you die in it, but you live right here in it, the code. You either do or you die, homie, but we're living it though. Hope keeps you alive, fear makes you cold. You either live or you die, but we live in the code. You know what we need to do, so let's live it up, bro. Life's not fair, but we're living it though. You know what you need to do. I guess I messed that up. So, you're rich and I'm scared. This song about you and I, we're infinity years old. I can't really remember my tempo that I was going with that there, so we tried it. But anyway. You know what you need to do. You're rich and I'm scared. The song about you and I, we infinity years old. Totally forgot what that is. And you either live or you die, man. We live in the code. They know where we live, but I wrote the code. If you're offended, I am livid, but I'm a man on a mission. You only did it to get high, but now you're a man on a mission. You either live or you die. You either live or you die. We live in the code. You know what you need to do, so let's live it up, bro. So this was like a little rough sketch.
So that's how you start?
Yeah. And so, like, just basically to keep a theme, because once you have like some sort of things to start with, it gets really easy. The hardest part is just coming up with some little semblance of an idea, a tree, like a seed or whatever. And then once you get like that first sprout of branches, it's really easy to just add stuff on top of it because you have some, you know, a little thing to start rhyming with.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have something else?
No, it's just the same thing. It was just more like trying to get hooks out of it and whatever.
Okay, so it was your rough paper.
Yeah.
Okay, very nice. Now, will you come and visit us another time
Of course.
and share more of your latest productions?
Yep, of course.
Okay. All right. Well, for now, I want to thank you all for joining us here, talking about the songs of my grandfather, where I introduce Alexandre as a poet and musician. And we'll see, you can find the song that we featured today, James Dean. The lyrics are here in the book.
What page?
It's on page 237.
237 pages.
Yes, so
That's
it's
a
on
lot of content.
page 237. Now, if you remember, the book features the songs my grandfather wrote, and they're presented in Spanish, which is how he wrote them. And I featured the translation of the song. So you will see the original song in Spanish and followed by the version in English. So in the book, I close with Alex's song, who is now running with the baton for the family in creating new songs, new lyrics, new poetry.
Buy new product. Get excited for next product.
So for now, I will thank you, and we will talk to you again.